Hi guys, and welcome to another video by Vegan and Frodo. So good to see you here again on my channel. Thanks for being here. Check out the weather. I don't know, can you see? It's pretty cool. I did a really good climb this morning and it was like so cool, and I got a whole bunch of PBs and I'm pretty happy with it. And I did like a back of Mount Cootha and it was just freaking epic. But this video is not about that. It is about cycling in the rain. And since I have another tour coming up, I thought it would be like appropriate. Shit, I can't figure out how to, there you go, you can sort of see me. It'd be quite appropriate to just kind of do a video and I talk about it a little bit more. And I have talked about doing video on rain and how to cycle in the rain for a while, so I just kind of want to basically talk about that. So right, when you're touring, there are a few different aspects that you want to look at when it rains and you're cycling in the rain. One is your clothes, obviously. If you have to cycle like the whole day in clothes that is wet, that, you know, it might be cold or windy or something, like it's not going to be a very enjoyable ride. So what I would recommend is getting a waterproof or at least water resistant clothes. So I've done a video on that before, but basically I also saw like someone put a comment on that on clothes, like when you buy it, there's like a level of water resistance or resistivity or something rather. So yeah, check out for that. But the easiest way to do it is whenever you grab a new kind of product, you kind of run your fingers on the seams and they should be sealed from the inside, basically. These actual pants, because these are like my pants that I wear, like I wore a couple of the other tour and I got them freaking, I didn't get them destroyed, they still work, but I wore them. I ripped them in a couple of places and they definitely have been loved and used, which was very helpful because otherwise I would have been like completely wet. So that's that. Also having a high-vis clothes is very important. I think it's super important. But I have shown you this like jacket before, and it's again, it's windproof, wind resistant, shield, yeah, wind shielding, and it is waterproof as well. So if you like have a look on the inside on all of the seams, like you can't really see it like this, but when you look and you like run your fingers, so it's like sealed. It's like a seal from one end and from the other end, like from both sides of your seam, right? So no water gets in. So obviously having a water resistant clothes, really important. Having high-vis clothes is super important. I would definitely recommend having your lights being charged and having, you know, spare lights, spare batteries. Here you go, maybe you can see me better like this. I don't know. Okay, again, I'll talk about these guys. So this is not 100% waterproof, but they're really helpful in water resistance. Is these like little boots, my friends call them moon boots, but basically you chuck them on top of your cycling boots, and there's like at the bottom there's like this little hole thing. I'll show you. There you go. Can you see? Anyway, I hope you can see this. So there's like room here for walking and to put your clip, like when you're clipping into your thing. But I wore them with regular runners as well, and like they zip and unzip. And these are actually like an extra large size, not because I have big feet, but because I want to be able to wear different size shoes. Like my trainers, my running shoes are definitely much bigger, I'll show you, than my cycling shoes. And in the beginning, especially in my first tour when I rode to Sydney, I was just wearing these guys, not this particular, but I had a pair of trainers which were exactly like these. So they're kind of like a bit biggish and chunky, when these are like my mountain bike shoes. I guess they kind of look somewhat similar in terms of size, but these are like, if you have a look at this like distance, they're like wider, so you'd want something that would fit both. I don't know, for me I want it to have that option. So that's that. Okay, another option is how not to get your feet wet, basically. So yeah, when you're riding in cold or wet weather, you don't want, there are like a few things that you really don't want to be wet and cold. You want to think about your hands. If you can get waterproof gloves, that's awesome. Like you can afford the ones that are cycling gloves that are whole fingers or whatever, and they're waterproof. That's great. Another option could be buying the ones that are not waterproof, but using, you know, those like in the reusable, or like those reusable gloves. You know how they use, like at the doctors and like nurses use them and stuff like that. So that could be definitely an option. It could be helpful. Another thing would be socks. Okay, there's like a middle ground in between in terms of socks, because there are water resistant socks. There are, like, legitimate, but the brands that I have come across are not vegan. And again, if you're like wanting to be 100% vegan, like you can't be a bit like, mate, like what I do, like I need these. So of course you can wear like plastic bags on your feet as well as socks to kind of keep your feet a bit warmer and drier, or you can have socks that are waterproof. I actually been in contact with the brand and yeah, that makes, like, there are a couple of brands out there that make cycling socks that are waterproof, 100% waterproof. So you can actually like just go into water and your feet will still be warm and dry, most importantly on the inside. So I've been in touch with the companies asking them to actually show interest that there's a need for a vegan ones. Anyway, enough on clothes. The next thing that we can talk about is something that's actually pretty basic. Oops. And I have recently was talking to my friends about it because we were like gonna do a ride, and it was there was a really big chance of rain, and I didn't realize that people don't actually like know it. But I guess before knowing it, I didn't know either. So like it makes sense that not everyone knows. But like, you know how you have your racks on your bike, right? And you have your you have your rack and you have your pannier bags, and there's like all this room inside of it. What you can do is get a rubbish bag, or you get a garden bag or something, but like these really, really, really thick, really big bags. Yeah? And you just basically scrunch it up and shove it in there, and it keeps your clothes and it keeps your stuff nice and dry. And it's actually so helpful, because like you don't actually understand how valuable it actually is to have clean, dry clothes when you just got back from wherever you got back from, especially if it's been raining or cold all day. Like, these guys are so helpful that I didn't think of it before, but I was like kind of talking to some people who have done long distance riding, like legitimate long distance riding, not like just 100k ride, and that was one thing that was suggested to me, and I'm so glad that, you know, I have this, and I wouldn't want to ride without it when I'm doing these long distance rides. So speaking of plastic bags, I have these little baggies that I reuse with my rides, and I basically put all of my like electronics in there, and like my, you know, your cards, your money, whatever. Like, you just keep them in these little plastic containers, all your electronics, your chargers, your cords, your map as well, if you have a paper map. And that is just like, again, another level of protection, and especially for these things, like I think it's so important to have this little second battery, and to be able to charge your electronics when you need to charge it, if you need to recharge it, and not having it break on you. And another quick thing I'll talk about the actual tires. So I'm planning to put on my back tire for my next tour this guy. It's like the Gataskin Continental tire, 25 mil. There you go. But you can see it's quite like smooth and running. So I was talking to some guys who have quite a lot of experience with these tires, and they're actually like quite often used for races and things. But in terms of long distance cycling, I'm going to use it because I want to test out the puncture resistance of these guys. I've heard some people have good experience, some people had bad experience, but supposedly these should be like a good tire. So I'm going to try out this on my back and makes us relax on my front. But let's have a look. Like if you, it's a little tiny bit worn out. Like my back one is way more worn out than my front one. But if you can have a look, like it's much more grippier. Like there's like grips. So when you like go on asphalt and things, it just goes compared to this, right? Like you see that this one, the Get a Skin, is like much smoother. And the other one is like a lot more grip. And obviously when it's raining, or you don't know what kind of conditions you'll be cycling in. Well, hopefully you do, but you can't predict everything 100% all the time. So grippier, thicker tires are good. If you can fit a mountain bike tire on your road bike, you're freaking lucky. But just to give you a comparison, if you can have a look, my back one it's like starting to get quite worn out. It's pretty like flat, and you can feel it. Like you can feel it that it's like flat compared to this, when there's still like, there's even like a little shape, but here it's like flat. I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, I have like vegan stickers all around on this side and that other side of my bike, because why not? I can represent. Okay, just a quick little something so this video is not like freaking half an hour. When you're looking at your cycling technique, it obviously depends how comfortable are you when you're cycling, like how long you've been cycling for. If you're pretty comfy and pretty sweet, you might be willing to go down and descend and ride really quite fast. I personally choose not to, especially when I'm descending. I obviously brake a bit more, and for that, make sure that you do check your brakes, you check your tires, you lube up and tune everything in on your bike before you go, especially if you know there is a chance of rain, and there pretty much always is, unless you're like cycling through Sahara Desert or like in Africa, like Mark does. But anyway, yeah, your brakes are super important. They get worn out a bit more because you're using them a lot more. Don't be, all up in the air. Like by that I mean like don't try and show off when you're cycling in the rain. Just like really take care of your safety and be very, very aware of your surroundings and how you're cycling and what else is happening, because it's just it really does depend. Like your safety depends on you, and if you, sorry about the light, it kind of goes in and out. Depends on like where I am in the picture. But yeah, don't speed. I wouldn't speed too much, but just make sure that you pay attention to the road, pay attention to like the puddles, pay attention to actually the depth of the puddle or like little bridges and things. Like don't risk it too much. If you think the stream is pretty fast going over the bridge and like the river flooded, for example, or something, just because like your safety is important and it is your responsibility. I'll say it over again and again, make sure you wear a helmet, but always wear a helmet when you're on a bike. And yeah, just be aware that trees might fall, leaves might fall. There's just, stuff on the road. There's more stuff on the road, so really pay a lot more attention to the road which you're riding, and make sure like that, when you're riding past, the ground gets dirty and like gets really muddy and there's a potential for slipping, which is why having, a kind of runny, thin, slideish tire is not as good as having a good grippy tire, like as I showed you over there. So yeah, if you want, like for my next trip, I'm doing this one on the back and I'm keeping my Refuse on the front, just because I want the puncture resistance and stuff on my back, and we'll see how that goes anyway. Like it'll be just experience, hey? Okay, let's finish this video here because I'm just like going on and on and on about stuff. Hope you found this video helpful. Hope you found some useful tips or some sort of ideas about whatnot, and we'll see you in another video.